The opinions expressed on the X and Y show are the sole opinions of the host. Please note, there is no intentional desire to offend any member of the listening audience. With that said, if you still feel offended, tough shit.
It's time for the X and Y show with your host, Mr. Roosevelt. He talks about man topics, lady topics, and relationships. He talks about love, sex, and infidelities. He even gives good tips. There is no other show that compares to the X and Y show.
Oh yeah. Sit back, take your clothes off, and relax. It's time for the X and Y show, where real relationship issues are talked about and addressed. The only place on the planet that tackles the topics that everyone wants to talk about, but no one is brave enough to address. Nothing escapes X and Y, baby. Now, here's your host, Roosevelt Colbert.
And greetings. Welcome to another segment of the X and Y show, and I'm your host, Roosevelt. And I know that you are waiting for me to sing or waiting for me to impersonate someone, but I'm not doing that tonight because I have to keep you guys on your toes. I can't spoil you. That's a special thing. You actually lucky that you have me. You should be thrilled that your parents made love and that you're able to hear my voice right now. It's a treat. So I'm not going to give you that every week. No. I'm going to give you that every once in a while. So, keep you on your toes a little bit so you won't take for granted of my talents. Welcome to another segment. I'm your host, Roosevelt, and I'm glad to be here. We're moving through October. Halloween about 3 weeks away. I see people putting all the Halloween shit up. And it's going to be different this year. The kids can't really go out and trick-or-treat anymore anyway, because too many crazy motherfuckers out there. But it's still going to be different. They can't even go to the fire station and pick up candy, or the grocery store, or the church, anything. You can't do that because this coronavirus is going to be around, so kids won't be able to get candy this year. So that's fucked up. And I'm thinking about that shit, and Christmas will be different. Now, you guys know how I feel about Christmas. And it's going to fuck up the holidays. I mean, damn. It just dawned on me that this shit is still going to be around during the holidays. No more, I guess some pubs are opening, and it's going to be different, though. Damn. Shit fucking up everything. But anyway, all you can do is get through it, right? That's all we can do. We're going to get through it. And that's all we can do. I know you're complaining about it. But I'm glad we're in October anyway. I love this time of year. As you guys know, October, November, December. My birthday is next month. So I'm expecting a huge incline, with my Patreon account. So don't forget that. Without further ado, I'm going to get into this week's questions. First one is from Brianna. Brianna says, I'm curious. Well, she says, Roosevelt, I'm curious. My husband will not allow me to play with him in his anus. If I'm his wife, I feel that it's my right to do something if it's something that I like. Am I wrong? Brianna, you're absolutely not only wrong, you're wrong or incorrect, you're fucking wrong. It amazes me how people think because they're married, they just own the other person. You belong to me. And technically they do, but some things you have to draw a line. And that, to me, is definitely one of those things. My wife, if I ever get married, The ass is off limits. Don't fuck with my ass. I don't want you blowing in my ass. I don't want you giving no fucking prostate massage. I don't want you putting your don't fuck with my ass. I don't know what's wrong with these motherfuckers. Some things are off limits. And if your husband don't want you fucking with his ass, leave it alone. Find something else to get your rocks off. You don't own your husband. He feels uncomfortable. And obviously he's voiced that to you. And yet your silly ass still trying to do things in his ass. Leave his ass alone. It's obviously not his thing. And that's something, quite frankly, you should have known before you guys got married. Now, if you're one of those who talked about that and he told you that he didn't like it, but you said, oh, I'll change him when we get married, then that's on you. That's another thing. People think when they get married, things will change. Sometimes they do, but you can't bank on it. So if you knew that before something you like to do, play with asses, and it's something you like to do, and the dude told you that he doesn't like that when you guys were dating, then that was your opportunity to get out of that at that point. Now you have to respect his wishes. Leave his ass alone. He don't like that. He don't like it. So it's not your right just because you're his wife. If he told you he don't like it, then stop doing it. All right. Next question from John. How long should I wait for sex? Been dating this girl for 2 years and she won't give in. Shit. Shit. Ain't no damn way. Look, John, I don't know. To each his own. In different situations, different folks, different strokes. Sometimes you can't go by a certain time limit on when you're supposed to have sex. You just got to do it when it's right, So that's why I don't believe in that 90-day bullshit that Steve Harvey be splurring. You wait 90 days and you're worth it for the guy to take you out to dinner and wait 90. Fuck out of here, Steve Harvey. I wonder, did he wait 90 days when he was fucking his ex-wives and shit? Don't get me wrong. I like Steve Harvey. He's an example of what I want to get to, but that's bullshit. Now, if it just so happened to be 90 days, so be it. But if it's 9 days, that's cool too. So it's up to you, John. And it sounds like to me that shit is beginning to bother you. After 2 years, I would have been gone. Been gone. Let me say that one more time. I would have been got the fuck out of there. 2 years. Ain't no fucking way. No. And I ain't waiting 90 days either. Fuck that. But that's me. You can't go by what I go by, John. You have to decide what's right for you. If you wanted to fuck after a month, and she was still, no. It was up to you to wait around and see if he'd come around. Maybe 2 months, maybe 3 months, 4 months, 6 months. But as you see, she still hasn't come around after 24 months. So that you have to make a decision. And for me, something like that, it could easily turn into, I'm thinking like, damn, does she like to fuck? So if you ever get married, will she still be rationing you pussy? And, all kind of shit be going through my head. So I would have been got out of that. So how long should you wait for sex, John? It depends on you. Depends on the young lady that you're with. Depends on the situation. Depends on her past experiences. She might be going through some shit. It's a lot of shit that falls into play. But you have to make that decision. What is too long? What is too short for you? For me personally, too short is actually a one-night stand. Now, years ago, I lived for those. That's what I was looking for. That was like finding gold. One-night stand. But now I definitely don't want a one-night stand. No. So, you also change through the years, too, as you mature. So, John, you have to make that decision. I can't make it for you, but it sounds like it's bothering you. So, if you're not happy, I would recommend that you get out of it while you can. It's been 2 years, and she's still not giving you no pussy, and it's probably not going to happen no time soon. So that's on you. So hope that helps. Anyway, let's get into tonight's episode. Tonight's episode. Dun-dun-dun-dun. Who's staying home with the kids? Who's staying home with the kids? Now, I came with the idea of this show because me and my friend was talking, dude I went to school with, and we were talking about families and da-da-da and stuff. We were just bringing up a lot of shit, and it was some things that we were talking about. I was like, damn, back in the day, it was it seemed easier, but it really wasn't. It just seemed that way. But nowadays, like back in the day, economic times were different, but now they've changed. Back in the day, it was assumed that the woman would stay home with the kids and be a housewife, while the man go out and make the money. And even the TV entertainment was reflecting that even back in the day. Look at Leave the Bieber, I Love Lucy. She stayed home while Ricky went out. Mrs. Bieber stayed home while Warren went. So even television reflected the society that was going on back then. Of the woman always staying home to be a housewife, taking care of the house, taking care of the kids, while the man was the breadwinner. I couldn't imagine how women must have felt back then. Could you imagine how many dreams were dashed because of that bullshit? Women being expected to stay home with the kids, being a housewife. Could you imagine how many dreams were dashed? So many smart women that never got to realize their dreams, because society chose it for them. You're going to be a housewife. You're not going to be a doctor. You're not going to be a lawyer. You're going to stay home. Society chose that for them. But now things are different. Women are more educated, and they didn't get all that education to be housewives. So how do you make the decision now? It was easy back then. The woman always stayed home. But how do you make that decision now? And if you're like me, a person that absolutely do not trust daycare centers, how do you make that decision of who stays home for the kids? Now, the way that I see it, there are only 4 alternatives. There are only 4. I don't give a fuck what nobody say. 1, the wife stay home. 2, the husband stay home. 3, daycare centers. And 4, grandparents. Now let's go through those options. Let's start off with grandparents. Now, in my opinion, I don't think that's fair. Grandparents will not be an option for me because I feel that they've done their job. They've done their duty. They raised your ass. Don't put your kids with their grandparents. They're older now. They should be chilling, relaxing, watching Price is Right, watching the news, taking naps, fucking if they want to, eating watermelon, eating pomegranate, drinking a little whiskey, chilling, relaxing, not having no fucking kids to be watching after. So in my opinion, it's not a good idea to throw your kids on your grandparents, on your parents or her parents. Maybe every once in a while, the grandparents watch them while you guys go out to dinner. That's different. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when you're leaving your badass kids with your parents or her parents all day, 5 days a week. That's what I'm talking about. I don't believe in that shit. And a lot of people do that. And a lot of grandparents volunteer to do that because they just love their grandkids. But in my opinion, you shouldn't allow the grandparents to do that. you shouldn't allow it because it's just not fair. You know, my mom volunteered to help my sister out, and I wish she would have done that because my nephew was a little bad motherfucker. That motherfucker used to cry for everything. You know, the door slam. Ah! 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 You know, you hear a pin drop. Ah! 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 You know, take your shoes off. Ah! 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 Motherfucker cry for every goddamn thing. I used to tell my sister, you need to hurry up and bring your ass home after work. You know, my mom and dad don't need this shit. You know, so anyway, that's the first option that you can do, though. A lot of people take advantage of. They just put their kids with their grandparents. I don't think that's fair. That wouldn't be an option for me. But that is an option. Now, the second option is daycare centers, which a lot of people go to or use this option. But there's two things daycares, they're expensive. They cost a lot of money. That's number one. Number two, you got to worry about some sick motherfucker doing something to your children. You hear about it every day. I did an episode on it earlier, actually. And, you know, while I was doing my research for that show, no daycare would speak to me because they know I was going to grill their ass because this is something I'm very passionate about. It's too many freaky motherfuckers working in daycare centers. I don't care what nobody say. Oh, no, they have cameras. I'm able to see. You know, there's no part of the place where I can't see. That's bullshit. There's always a way to beat the system. Always. You know, you hear about it every day. You know, daycare centers doing something to kids and neglecting them, hitting them, breaking their arms, breaking their legs and shit. I don't want to go through that shit because if that happened to me, I'm going to prison. I'm not waiting for this justice system because a lot of the motherfuckers actually get off. You know, depending on the circumstances, they get off or get a year or some bullshit. Nah. So, I don't trust none of those motherfuckers in those daycare centers. None of them. They don't give a fuck. It's not their kids. So, they don't care about your goddamn kids. So, I don't care what anyone says. I don't trust daycare centers. And they're expensive as fuck anyway. But that is an option. You know, for people who need someone to watch the kids. You know, daycare centers. Now, the last two options are the wife stay home or the husband stay home. Now, you have to be careful with these two options because the person who stays home might unintentionally form some resentment toward the spouse or even worse, their kids. You know, if it weren't for these motherfuckers, I'd be the vice president by now. These little motherfucking bastards. If it wasn't for them, I could be the lead attorney. Start having resentment toward their kids, start having resentment toward their spouse. You know, that shit can get ugly real quick. You know. And this is largely why a lot of couples only have one child. You know. When that child grows up, then that shit is over. Because they have multiple child, then that's the longer that person, whoever stayed home, they're going to stay home even longer. They have to wait longer until all those motherfuckers out of preschool. So how do you make this decision then over who stays home? You make it on an economic basis. You know, if your wife is an attorney and you work at Walmart, that's an easy decision. I know you like your Walmart jacket, but you staying your ass home. That's easy. But what if your wife's an attorney and the husband is a doctor? You know, how do you make that decision then? Who stays home? Flip a coin? So you end up taking the grandparents' offer? We'll watch the kids. It's not fair to them. So what a lot of people do, they make an agreement. of, I'll stay home until all the kids are out of preschool. And I've seen this method actually get fucked up as well because, in a lot of ways, because a lot of times when someone stays home so long, they don't want to go back to work. They're not motivated anymore. They just stay home. I know, I've dealt with people who, now that the kids are, big, and one part of the spouse, want the other one to get back to work. It's time to get, and the other one's like, nah, I'm good. I'm good. I'm not going nowhere. I'm about to watch this Price is Right and my stories. I'm not missing my stories now. So, and then, you have to be careful with that because a lot of times if you have 2 or 3 kids, you could be out of the workforce, 10 years, 12 years, or that's not even that long. Let me see. Yeah, you got to wait I'd say between 8 and 12 years. So that's a lifetime. You're making a sacrifice to your career. You're becoming a relic. Speaking from someone who used to be in accounting, accounting, it changes yearly almost. Damn, after 8 years, you'll be a relic. You won't know what's going on. And that's any profession. If you're a lawyer, you haven't practiced in 8 years. There's a lot of shit you got to catch up with. Any profession, you stay out a long time, you basically have to be re-educated. So you're making a sacrifice, no matter what, of who's choosing to stay home. What is the best decision? What is the best decision? How do you make this decision of who stays home with the kids? You might say, well, shit, we don't have kids. We'll fix that problem. That's easy. We don't have kids. Yeah, that's an option as well. That's an option. But then it might be something, a resentment even later because the husband actually wanted kids. Or the wife actually wanted kids. So that still is not guaranteed that problems won't arise. So this is something that every couple should deal with before the problem escalates to something that can't be fixed. So a lot of you are saying, Roosevelt, what do you do? Well, I don't know. Each situation is different. There might be an opportunity where you have a job where the wife can be home during the day and the husband can be home at night, change his shift. She might be able to practice at the house. There's different scenarios. But if you both have a traditional 9-to-5 job, then you both have to talk about this. This is something that should be discussed before you get married. How are we going to do this? How is this going to be addressed? How will this work? How will we make this work for both of us? And the important thing is both parties have to be in agreement. The other person have to agree to actually stay home until all the kids get out of preschool or elementary or whatever the agreement that you guys make. The other person has to agree to that. And keep in mind that agreements change. Well, I know I said I'll wait till the elementary, but I'm ready to get back to work, honey. I can't stay out any longer. Billy can talk now. We can put him in daycare. So agreements change. Agreements might change like the other way as well. I thought you were going to go to work after all the kids were up. They're up and you're not going back to work? No. I'm good. So it doesn't matter which way you go. Each way is really tricky. and could fall through the rafters very fast. Many families have already gone through it. Many families are going through it. There is no right decision in a situation like this. If you're not rich and you can afford a nanny and shit, and there's really nothing you could do. You have to make a decision out of those 4 alternatives, or 5. If you just say we just won't have kids. Yeah, you can say that. Or you have to make a decision. The wife stay home, 1, the husband stay home, 2, you allow the grandparents to take on the responsibility of watching kids in their senior years. That's an alternative. It's unfair. It's selfish, in my opinion, but that is an alternative. And it's an alternative that a lot of you motherfuckers are currently taking advantage of. But that is an alternative. And the other alternative is daycare centers, which is definitely wouldn't be one for me because I just don't trust them. Period. None of them. Every family has to make the decision that is best for them, best for their family, best for their situation. But this is definitely something that needs to be addressed before you get married. That'd be ideal. And it's something that you definitely should speak about, I would say, on at least annual basis. If you make a decision where one stays home, you have to check in with that person. Are you okay? How you feel about staying home. See how they're coping with that shit. It could be getting angry at you, unintentionally. Well, they're not mad at you, but they're mad at the situation. And that's how marriages get fucked up real fast. They start taking shit out on you, taking shit out on the kids. Next thing you know, it's a real messed up situation. So I think it's something that it's a situation that should be monitored continuously. Honey, how are you staying home? You still okay with that? Agreements change. Sometimes they need to be changed. Reevaluated over time to see if it's still the best thing for that particular time. But this is something that you definitely need to address with your partner. Preferably before, while you're dating, before you get married. It's something that you have to talk about if you want to have kids. Now, if you both don't want to have kids, then you have no problem. But this is something, if you want to have kids, you definitely have to discuss. Because if you don't discuss it, then the alternative would be divorce, unhappy marriage, a whole myriad of things. That's not good for the family. You don't want anything that's not good for the family. So, talk about it. Reevaluate it. And see if it's still a good thing, or it needs to be changed, or something needs to be added, or something needs to be taken away. Communicate with one another. If we have more communication within marriages of today, there'll be less divorces. People don't talk anymore. People are so busy. You have to communicate. Anyway, hope you enjoyed tonight's episode. Be sure to check with me every week for a new show, new episode. I'm on Podbreed Network. I'm on a lot of networks. I'm on Apple, iHeart, Spotify, Google, Castbox. Check me out on all of them. Be sure that you subscribe as well. I'm on Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook, Instagram, all my social medias. You can find my platforms as well as my social medias on my website, which is www.thexyshow.com. www.thexyshow.com. Be sure to leave me a comment as well. any constructive criticism you might have, any reviews that you might have, all of that is there. And be sure to check out my Patreon page that I just started. I want you to see how good it is, and become a Patreon. Show people that you're a real X and Y'er. I'm going to add some more stuff in there as well to make it more enticing to you. So, without further ado, I am going to leave you until next week, but I want you always to remember, you cannot have love without X and Y. Later.
You've been listening to The X and Y Show with your host, Roosevelt Colbert, the place where real relationship issues are talked about and addressed. Join us next time. You can now put your clothes back on. Or not.